The Scorch Trials, Chapter 22, on this PDF, page 77. Minot let them sleep for almost 4 hours. Not that he had to wake many people up. The rising and intensifying sun raged its heat down on the land, and it became unbearable, impossible to ignore. By the time Thomas was up and had the food repacked after breakfast, sweat already drenched his clothes. The smell of body odor hung over them like a stinky mist, and he just hoped he wasn't the worst culprit. The showers back at the dorm seemed like pure luxury now. The Gladers remained sullen and quiet as they readied for the journey. The more Thomas thought about it, the more he realized that there wasn't much to be happy about. Still, two things kept him going, and he hoped that they did the same for the others. First, an overwhelming curiosity to find out what was in that stupid town. It looked more and more like a city as it got closer. And second, the hope that Teresa was alive and well. Maybe she'd gone through one of those flat trans things. Maybe she was ahead of them now. In the city even, Thomas felt a swell of encouragement. "Let's go," Minot said when everybody was ready. Then they were off. Across the dry and dusty land they walked. No one needed to say it, but Thomas knew everyone was thinking the same thing. They no longer had the energy to run while the sun was up, and even if they did, they didn't have enough water to keep them alive at a faster pace. So they walked, sheets held over their head. As food and water dwindled, more of the packs became available to use for protection from the sun, and fewer Gladers had to walk in pairs. Thomas was one of the first to be alone, probably because no one wanted to talk to him after hearing the story about Teresa. He certainly wasn't going to complain. Solitude was bliss for now. Walking. Breaks for food and water. Walking. Heat like a dry ocean through which they had to swim. That wind blowing stronger now, bringing more dust and grit than relief from the heat. It whipped at the sheets, made it harder to keep them in place. Thomas kept coughing and rubbing chunks of accumulated grime from the corners of his eyes. He felt as if every swallow of water only made him want more, but their supplies had reached dangerously low levels. If there wasn't fresh water in the city when they reached it, there was no good way for him to finish that line of thought. They kept going, each step becoming just a little more agonizing, and quiet set in. No one talked. Thomas felt like even saying a couple of words would expend too much energy. It was all he could do to put one foot in front of the other, over and over and over, staring lifelessly at their goal, the ever-nearing city. It was as if the buildings were alive, growing right before their eyes as they got closer. Soon Thomas could see what had to be stone, windows glimmering in the sunlight. Some seemed to be broken, but far less than half. From Thomas's vantage point, the streets seemed empty. No fires burned during the day. As far as he could tell, not one tree or any other kind of plant existed in the place. How would it, in this climate? How could people possibly live there? How would they grow food? What would they find? Tomorrow. It had taken longer than he thought, but Thomas had no doubt they'd reach the city tomorrow. And though they'd probably be better off going around it, they had no choice. They needed to replenish their supplies. Walking, breaks, heat. When nightfall finally came, the sun disappearing below the far western horizon at a maddeningly slow pace, the wind picked up even more, and this time brought the slightest chill. Thomas enjoyed it, grateful for any relief from the heat. By midnight, however, when Minot finally called on them to stop and get more sleep, the city and its now burning fires ever closer, the wind had become even stronger. It blew in gales, whipping and curling with increasing power. Soon after they stopped, as Thomas lay on his back, sheet tucked around him and pulled up tightly to his chin, he looked up at the sky. The winds were almost soothing, lulling him to sleep. Just as his mind got hazy from exhaustion, the stars seemed to fade away, and sleep brought him another dream. He's sitting in a chair, 10 or 11 years old. Teresa, she looks so different, so much younger, yet it's still clearly her, sits across from him, a table between them. She's about his age. No one else in the room, a dark place with only one light, a dull square of yellow in the ceiling directly overhead. Tom, you need to try harder, she says, her arms folded, and even at this younger age, it's a look he doesn't find surprising. It's very familiar, as if he has already known her for a long time. I am trying. Again, it's him speaking, but not really him. It doesn't make sense. They'll probably kill us if we can't do this. I know. Then try. I am. Fine, she says. You know what? I'm not speaking out loud to you anymore. Never again until you can do it. But not inside your mind either. She's talking in his head. That trick that still freaks him out, and he is still can't reciprocate. Starting now. Teresa, just give me a few more days. I'll get it. She doesn't respond. Okay, just one more day. She only stares at him. Then, not even that. She looks down at the table, reaches out, and starts scratching a spot in the wood with her fingernail. There's no way you're not going to talk to me. No response. And he knows her, despite what he just said. Oh, he knows her. Fine, he says. He closes his eyes, does what the instructor told him to do, imagines a sea of black nothingness, interrupted only by the image of Teresa's face. Then, with every last bit of willpower, he forms the words and throws them at her. You smell like a bag of crap. Teresa smiles, then replies in his mind, so do you.